Welcome back! I'm Tyler, you're watching Scarfing Scarves, and welcome to the 54th installment of Last Week Lolita News. At the top of the segment, this reporter has found out that this AP release roughly translates to Sleeping Deep Sea Stars. It has entirely sold out except for the Navy OP, headbow, and all available socks. And none of that matters because I feel an almost spiritual connection with those sleeping stars in that the only response for having a Baptist preacher drone on about your soul rotting in hell for mixed fabrics is to gracefully lose consciousness and or snore loud enough to bring a new level of personal damnation. Bonus points if you take out someone's church crown in the process. Triple if half the congregation assumes you're possessed and you wake up to a full-face collision with the Bible and a front row seat to the gesticulations of a man who's dead convinced you're the spawn of Beelzebub's narcoleptic cousin. Speaking of harbingers of the end times, Meta has continued their role of producing arguably cute products with the release of the Floating Heart Cherry series. This print comes in a ribbon JSK, baby doll, and a cut that actually uses belt loops for their intended purpose. Said OP has full back shirring, and unlike the absolute heathens that designed Cat's Tea Party, it also has a fully back shirred belt that stretches to allow people above a size negative titmouse to actually wear it. Granted, the people who have bought this set with the measurements in mind likely aren't going to have to do much more than breathe out and then hold that for the rest of the meetup, but as there are only so many ambulances available, most people had CPR training in 7th grade, and I rank my ability to resuscitate a person right at the level I think myself capable of creating a sentence without two 25-cent words and enough verbosity to give Oscar Wilde a run for his money. Granted, I'll never be half the 2-bit woman-hating twitwaffle, even if I tried, but I'd rather spend my time creating sentences that don't denigrate half the population of the fracking earth. My burning literary feud aside, and moving on to industry news, a new Lolita and J-fashion shop by the name of Kuroshiro is opening in Houston, Texas. They will be offering brands such as Metamorphose, Q-Pot, Sexpot Revenge, a brand I can't pronounce, and many more. And they will, for the first time in the history of the Lone Star State, be bringing an opportunity for our community to support a store that doesn't make this reporter want to bend over, grasp the southern part of Texas, and yeet the entire shebang directly into the sun. I am excited for this store. You can find them online at kskawaii.com, Kuroshiro Kawaii on Facebook, and KS Kawaii Shop on Instagram. I will also link them below. I cannot wait to see where they go, and I will keep an eye on the sky for the opening of their physical shop in order to report back with the glorious details, lose my ever-loving mind, and gibber at the lot of you like a coked-up ferret freshly in possession of an entire horde of shiny garbage. Best of luck to Kuroshiro as they progress, and as that about wraps up the week, we turn towards Last Week Lolita News' next special segment. Things that shouldn't be talked about unless you want to summon targeted hate mail from desperate virgins, i.e. we're going to be talking about 4chan. And that previous descriptor is your last chance to contact this reporter before my inbox becomes a clusterfuck of 50 reasons Chad will never love me because my skull just isn't the appropriate size to be a Becky. Excuse me while I go drink away the knowledge that these terms have actually taken up space in my brain. My deepest regrets with my life choices aside, let's get down to brass tacks. It all started in Ruffle Chat. An OP who we shall call Shelly asked the community how they felt about images in Lolita groups being reposted to 4chan, if they thought it was an inevitability that should be ignored, and ended with the question of whether this was an issue that should be addressed. This led to a slew of comments that essentially amounted to "don't look if you don't want to vomit," a few mixed in that said it provided an outlet for uncensored concrete, and still more that expressed concern that they don't post on social media because of it, or if they do, worry about the types of things that are being said behind their back. Also, one person said that posting someone's cord on 4chan was the same as releasing their sex tape. Let's all agree that telling someone that their pinks don't match is not the same as releasing an up-close video of their boomstick. That said, even if you agree that sharing someone's free-range zucchini in horrifying HD without consent doesn't compare to critiquing an outfit, that still leaves a lot of room for discussion. We've got to lay down some groundwork, and to do that, we have to start at square one. Welcome to So You've Been Posted, What to Do About 4chan and CGL. To catch up the people who have gone their entire lives without having so much as brushed elbows with the internet's foremost bastion of Cheeto-encrusted robots, pole trolls, or flock of seagulls that would sooner claw your eyes out than admit to vendetta posting their fellow comm members entirely out of spite. 4chan is an English-language image board where users post anonymously. The site is split into separate boards that encompass different subjects and guidelines, and other than being popularly known as the place where all concepts of love and empathy go to die, the section that serves the niche community around Lolita fashion is known as CGL. This stands for cosplay and EGL. The members call themselves Seagulls seagulls because seagull, and the mere fact that I've mentioned it by name means an untenable amount of cringe is nigh, the first rule of Fight Club has been broken, and I only have myself to blame when it results in either a tidal wave of vitriol or absolutely nothing at all. Calling CGL by name is about as reliable as summoning Bloody Mary in a dark bathroom. It usually only results in embarrassment, but it's still best not to tempt fate with the unknown forces who spend their time cloaked in darkness whilst covered in mysterious substances. Granted, said substances are likely to be Cheeto related, but enough stereotyping. Let's continue painting this place with the broad strokes necessary to enlighten you all as to the nature of the board without dragging you through the years-long process it takes for it to swallow your soul. So to recap, for those of you who got lost in my superfluous nonsense, 4chan is an image board, CGL is the one where you will find cosplay and Lolita fashion content, and mentioning them is tantamount to summoning a blood-soaked spirit that may or may not rip your soul out through your ass. Which brings us to our second question, what makes up CGL? And perhaps the meat of what you will need to understand if and when you were posted there. Not fully addressing the fact that CGL is a board with a plethora of threads with everything from convention horror stories to general threads for countries the size of a walk-in closet, the main concern for people who fear being posted mostly lies in two enduring topics. One, the Closet of Frills thread, where outfits posted to said Facebook group are reposted to CGL for critique, and two, the ETA thread, where people post pictures of outfits they believe are culpable in a class action lawsuit for emotional distress. In all seriousness, while being posted in the Closet of Frills thread is a matter of course for publishing your picture in the associated Facebook group, and only being posted in the ETA thread guarantees that you've been posted for mockery, they share a commonality of insults that make them generally ill-advised for anyone struggling with their self-esteem. Things in the Closet of Frills thread can often go from frank critique of an outfit to ad hom attacks on someone's physical appearance unalterable beyond thousands of dollars in surgery. Many will attack people based on weight, and what good concrete is offered can be hard to sift out amongst mixed reviews by people you don't know from Eve, Adam, or the neck-bearding R9K despot who likes to spend his afternoons pretending to be a pretty princess with the attitude of an embittered hemorrhoid. Which brings us, finally, to the point of this exhausting exercise. What are you supposed to do about it? As someone who has lurked this board longer than should be advised, never posted, and simply watched from the precipice as the roiling creatures did battle below, the following is what you should do after being posted. Nothing. Otherwise known as nada, zilch, zero, zip, frack all, divide your 50 proposed responses and divide by squat, and that is the amount of things you should do upon finding out that your picture has been posted anywhere on this board. To which I can already hear some of you asking why, and the answer may somewhat surprise. Because I know better than to tell you not to look. Curiosity is the bloatware of human consciousness, and given that most of you familiar with this site have been to it at least enough times to burn yourselves, swear never to return, and then do it again in an intellectual act that puts you right below small children who manage to learn that hot means bad, telling you simply not to go there is not helpful. We need a better strategy, and I believe that begins and ends at considering the source. That source is the anonymous posters themselves and a breakdown of their associated credibility. The following is an incomplete list of the types of people that post on CGL, and with any luck, a key look into what you're getting when you take credence from an underwater basket weaving board made almost entirely of people who have a vested interest in watching you have a public meltdown for keks. The first and perhaps most unsung creature on our list is the Old Salt. They've been on this board since the dinosaurs, they will tell you about it, and when they're not too busy complaining about how things have changed, they're a good source for old board stories, rare macros, and generally posting in a way that reads like mothballs and sounds like the bitterness of a person who has committed large portions of their time to a place that appreciates their seniority like a nursing home treats its patients, i.e. with derision, cruelty, or neglect in that order, and or with a dash of accused new friendery. A term in itself that is rather new, which brings us to our second citizen of CGL, the new friend. Previously termed as new plus a slur that rhymes with tag, the new friend is a person new to CGL. They are inexperienced with board culture, and 9 out of 10 will nuke a thread with a question that could have been handled in the general, though posting in said general also carries an 11 out of 10 chance of being told to frack off, asked if they're new, and or ignored entirely. This person is ironically the most likely to accuse other people of being new to cover for their own inadequacy. And as being pointed out as a newbie on this board is essentially an insult tantamount to not being privy to the secret cool kids club, this defense technique reeks of desperation celebration usually devolves into a "no, you are," and has been known to derail a thread faster than you can say, "Jesus fracking Christ, quit taking the bait, can we please get back to posting pictures of Jessica Nigiri's left boob?" Speaking of tits, and our third CGL citizen who is about as likely to have them as a snowflake is to go 2 days without going full rage quit on any given Lolita community, our next seagull in question is known primarily as the role player. This person is often a male cross-border, fetishist, or Lolita at heart that should be axed on sight. They're known for outing themselves via making posts about the fashion that only a harshly shaking infant would think to put into words, and their presence is regarded as annoying, second only to the random R9K cross-border who is tired of yanking it, but apparently is not tired of the equally masturbatory act of riling the nerves of the main image board known for possessing the quote-unquote feminoids. Whatever the case, the role player is not a Lolita, they will never be a Lolita, and taking their advice or words to heart is like asking for mechanical advice from a massage therapist who specializes in spanking the monkey. They will try to jerk off the tailpipe, and you're better off paying for a happy ending that amounts to your car actually operating as expected. Turning towards our fourth seagull, and perhaps the most audacious occupant, the Vanettachan. This person has a bone to pick. Maybe the person they're posting has rubbed them the wrong way. Maybe they've missed their afternoon Hot Pockets and their blood sugar has sunk down to impotent rage posting. Either way, they are out for blood. Their primary purpose is to post about the same person over and over. This is known for tanking entire threads, and their attempts at pretending to be multiple people, harness CGL as their own personal army, and or get the board to agree with them for more than 5 seconds usually amounts to either untethered shitposting or nuking the thread from orbit out of mercy from often absentee mods. Said mods may or may not be consistent with their banhammers, but Vanettachans are more likely to be baited than assisted in any palpable way. This angers them greatly, and they will continue posting about their target under similar or different typing styles in a desperate hope that someone will validate their hatred for Becky with the bad makeup, whose sole crime is having existed on the internet in any capacity. How dare she breathe our air? And finally, to round off our list of miscreants that would light the entire community on fire just to watch it burn, we turn towards the troll. Now this one you should be familiar with. You cannot get on the internet without running into them. No online space is without their ilk. And while it might be an annoying part of being a netizen on any sector of the web, you don't know trolling until you jump headfirst into their most infamous stronghold that is any board on 4chan. Yes, there are worse places than that, but for the sake of the Lolita community, this is the foremost space for these creatures of the Black Lagoon. They will pretend to be anyone. They will get entire threads deleted, and if it suits their mood, they will continue their campaign of thread derailment long past any point a person in possession of a social life would think to keep typing. The chances of you figuring out who they are slim to none, and when they're not word barfing into the ether to get people off topic, they will post purposefully cruel and inflammatory things to upset people for their own amusement. This is how they entertain themselves, and no amount of advocating for people to be nicer to each other is going to reach the ears of a person who has decided that human empathy ranks lower than instant gratification via pointless cruelty. Which brings us to the endgame of my telling you all this niche, useless nonsense. When you get posted, when you get wind that anonymous people are posting about you online, consider your source. No matter what they say on this board, the very fact that they're posting on it anonymously means they have no credibility. And I don't mean that because they've written mean things, but rather that the people who have written these mean things are doing so with absolutely no proof that they're not a role player, a newbie who knows frack all, or worse, a sad aging man whose life has amounted to being turned down as a potential suitor by a girl in 5th grade, which transformed into a lifelong vendetta against all people who participate in a monthly ritual of abdominal irritation and screaming at anyone who tells them to smile. Some people just want to see the world burn, and while there must be posters on this platform that are perfectly normal people who fell into this swamp trying their best to add value here and there, the vast majority of this board is still about as credible as used underwear. You wouldn't buy them at Goodwill. You have no idea what the owner was thinking in donating them. And as you have no guarantee that they weren't owned by a man whose primary fat material involves literally or metaphorically pissing in the wind, with a side of saying insert name here looks like a tacky age player Johnson gobbler who is solely responsible for every non-cotton release from AP. They will blame you for breathing. They have the credibility of a turnip. And if you want to maintain your sanity as a citizen of the Lolita community, then you will take these words to heart and know that the next time you are posted, the best thing you can do is wrap their collective anonymous actions up to the activity of a group of people who would sooner watch you suffocate on a stale macaron than endow you with anything of value. Consider your sources, weigh the merit of their blank resumes, and value yourself and those like you in this community enough to know better than to take advice from a fracking Guy Fawkes mask. Because that's all the time we have for tonight. This has been Tyler, you've been watching Scarfing Scarves, and before you run off to completely ignore what I've just taught you, put something cringeworthy on your Facebook timeline and or give this board more reasons to compare your nose to a kumquat. You should know that this show is sponsored in part by BB&B. Sources say buying their jewelry is less calories than binging your anger on a gallon of ice cream, and I heartily recommend their work to anyone who likes to wear enough sweets to balance out the fact that their soul is coated in enough salt to mine for profit. Link to their shop below, and to wrap things up with a big fracking bow, I'd like to thank my patrons for existing. You guys are the ones that have allowed me to make this monumental mistake, and should you like to join a group of people who will suffer with me when the hordes descend, or not depending on their blood sugar, you can head over to patreon.com/lastweeklolitanews for more content pertaining to this reporter's lifelong struggle with reasonable brevity. I promise you will rue the day. Thanks again guys, and I'll catch you next time.